Fish Tube and Fish Fam. This is yours truly, Rob with the Freaks Aquariums. Today I am coming to you streamside. So what you're seeing, this behind me is normally underwater. I am actually on the Mohawk River, which is actually controlled by a series of locks. Due to the virus, not only does it affect people, it affects Mother Nature. I've never seen it this low, and it's quite amazing because I walked from way down there on the other side of the trees. Looks like we have some grass carp or something porpoising in the water, jumping out of the water and schooling, because of course it's spawn, and they don't really mind such low water. But the reason I'm doing this video is, as you see right here, I think you can see right there. When I did my aquarium, it's going on 5 years now, the driftwood and the rocks I got from here. Not this location, but a location probably 45 minutes away that's still on the same river. So during the winter they do a drawdown, and at that point, as you see here, a lot of these rocks have sat out in the sun, so they've been kind of seasoned the same way the driftwood is done. Now, can't really see, but over there in the distance and over there, there are a lot of pieces of driftwood. So with stuff like that, it becomes ideal to use in the tank because Mother Nature has done the job of basically stripping off the bark. Something jumping back there. I assume it's carp. Of course, as I'm walking along, I find the only spot that was muddy enough to sink into. So I'll leave it to me. So let me flip this around and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so as you see here, there's some roots, some pieces of driftwood. Looks like a bird feather, but you have all these rocks. Now, of course, you have to test them to make sure, like look at all that slate right there. And it's almost all broken up already. You can take pieces of that and make natural caves, almost like the cave that's there naturally. Right there, you could take pieces and pieces and recreate that. Sometimes in certain areas though, you need to keep in mind that it may not be legal. But I know here, they don't seem to bother you. So as you see here, this was all underwater at one point. And as I mentioned, due to the virus, the people who work on the canal system are not deemed essential and not one of the phases that opened up here in New York. For whatever reason, they did sometime in the beginning of May open and then shut them. And from what I've read, it has to do with them not being essential. Some of the locks and some of the doors need to be repaired, but they're not essential, therefore they can't repair them. So you want to find pieces like this that have been ravished by the sun, the rain. They've been dried, they've been wet, they've been dried. So that eventually kills all the nasties that might be in those pieces of wood. And not to mention that you're going to save yourself, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks on pieces. So, you know, when your local area has a drawdown, that's the best time to go hunting for driftwood. Now, in my tank where I've got some of my rocks, some of my driftwood were higher up on the banks up in there. So they were actually up there for several years. The various rocks that you could find, different shapes, as well as the driftwood. So like here, there's some rock, little rock bed. That used to be underwater as well. So basically, if you have a river like this, or even a lake that draws down, once the drawdown is done, that exposes miles and miles of shoreline and several feet up a bank. So I did leave out some important things. Some were actually videoed and the file got corrupted, and my phone's been a nightmare. So with that being said, safety first and foremost. Now where I was on the Mohawk River, and as you saw, it was really low. It's down several feet. There's shoals that are showing up in the middle of the river, snags along the river. So safety is key. Now with the Mohawk, it's controlled by the Erie Canal system. There are several locks up and down that river. If they open the locks, the volume of water that is going to cascade will raise that river very rapidly. If you're there, you can pretty much rest assured you're getting swept away, and you probably won't see tomorrow. Now, of course, that sounds very grim, but it's not. A lot of areas that do this, as well as dammed rivers, a lot of times they have sirens all the way down the river if they plan on opening a dam, or if they're opening a lock. Now I've actually been around when they're opening the locks to let boats in and raise it and lower it, but that's only local, so you don't hear it down the river, or so you don't hear it. Best thing to do is, for me, I study, when I'm out every day for years, looking at something, seeing how it goes, and researching. You can go on the internet and check whatever lake it is, whatever river it is, that's dammed or uses a lock system, and see schedules for when they open them, so that you're not in harm's way. Ask locals as well. A lot of the old timers are a wealth of knowledge. They'll tell you, for how many ever years they open it here. There's no siren, but this is when you can expect to be open. So if you're doing what I did, you definitely want a plan of escape, because if you start to hear the rumble, or you start to see that water coming up, that's an indication that something's open and you need to get out of there. So now that that's aside, preparation is the key to your success. When you go hunting for rocks or driftwood, you want to make sure that you're testing the rocks. It's not 100% accurate, but you can pour vinegar over it. If it fizzes, not advisable to put in your tank, because you throw it in your tank, whether it's been cleaned or not, there could be something deep inside that rock that's going to leach out into your water and potentially harm or kill your fish or whatever's in your tank. Now with wood, you want to find pieces that have no bark left on them. More like a bleached or seasoned wood is what you're looking for. So as I mentioned about it being lower and the banks, from where I got it, I knew from fishing that area that the water level was at a certain height all year round. And with the winter, they open the dams and they do a drawdown, so it exposes those, as I'll say, golden nuggets that dotted that upper bank that was inaccessible except by boat. So once a drawdown happens, it allowed me to walk, probably a mile down, but that gave me access to wood that I would not normally have access to when the river was high. So when you look, the river's here, wintertime, it's here. You can walk here and look 6 feet up or so above where the water line is or was. That's golden wood there. That's wood that's been baked in the sun. It's been frozen in the winter. It's been wind dried or blown dried by the wind. So Mother Nature has done a lot of the work for you in prepping that wood. So when you get it, now in my case, it was too big to bake. Keep in mind that baking is
perfectly great, maybe 150, 200 for maybe 2 hours, but always check. You don't want to burn your house down. But by baking, it makes it float, makes it very buoyant. Now, you'll see this question on Facebook and fish groups and everything. How long will it take for my wood to become waterlogged? It could take days, weeks, years, or forever. In my case, my wood, after 4.5 years, was still buoyant. I had made it look like a part escape. I tied rocks on with a very thin thread so that over time it would deteriorate, thread would disappear, the rocks stay, the wood stays. Through the years, the plecos have tore it up, little chunks, still buoyant today. 4.5, well, now it's 5 years later. So keep that in mind when you get the wood. Make sure it's hardwood. Make sure there's no bark on it. If you can't bake it or boil it, my suggestion is throw it in a tub with the hottest water you have, and then boil water and pour boiling water over it. What I used was kosher salt. I'd recommend aquarium salt if you have it, or kosher, and a scrub brush, and scrub the dickens out of it. That'll remove any bark that may be on there. It'll also get rid of any of the slime or anything that had been on it prior, and it'll clean it up, and it'll show the true beauty of the wood. I did it in the tank. I did it for about 3 or 4 days, hot water, scrubbing, let it soak. And, you know, of course you have to take baths and showers, so you take it out, set it in a tub or something, and just let it sit, which is good because it allows you to rinse off the impurities when you put it back into the tub. Now, with safety, again, I don't suggest boiling rocks. A lot of videos will tell you, and a lot of people will tell you, no harm, no foul. I like to be safe when I do something. I have seen rocks blow up because there could be a porous rock that deep down inside has a fissure or a small pocket. You are now throwing that in water. It's going to boil. The temperature is going to rise rapidly. That air pocket is going to just open up, thus damaging or destroying the kitchen, yourself, whatever. I've seen it where, you know, you have rocks around the fire, you pour water on it to put the fire out, the rocks crack or explode. But for me, I just don't want that risk. So what I do with my rocks is boil your water, put the rocks in another pan, pour boiling water over them, and let them soak in it. That way you're exposing them to one temperature, and it was a constant, and the temperature isn't climbing, it's going down. You know, and then clean them with a brush, maybe sprinkle some salt on them, scrub it, rinse it, pour some more boiling water over it, and do it that way. That way you're safer, you're not running that risk. That's just in my opinion. So that's being said and done. Now you can put them in your tank and you're golden. So there was some other stuff in the video, a couple fish jumping around behind me. It's actually mating season for carp. Talked about the safety aspect when doing that. On a lake, you probably not such a big problem unless it's a dammed lake. But outside of that, you know, it gets you out with everything going on, with the social distancing still going on. As you saw, there was nobody by me. The lake is so low that even some of the marinas haven't been opening to allow the boats in, so the boat traffic was next to non-existent, which for my little boat to go out and actually fish is great, but I didn't do it. But you can save so much money by going out and getting stuff locally and DIYing your aquascape. Now, granted, the money that you save doing this, you can use to buy those rocks that you don't have access to. Like in my area, I don't have Dragonstone. I don't have Holy Rock. Stuff I'm going to have to order if I really want it and pay by the pound. Or go to my local fish store doing the same thing. So the money saved helps you. If you need those rocks, it leaves you some money to go out and get them. So with that being said, I've babbled on enough. Again, I appreciate everybody stopping by. I hope this helped you a little bit, gave you some ideas, maybe a day outing with the families, doing something fun together. Definitely turning your young ones on to this hobby and keeping this hobby alive. With that being said, before I leave, it's actually funny. I listen to a radio station here locally, and the aquarium topic has come up several times. The actual host actually has a saltwater tank, talked about his experiences with tanks as he was growing up, as well as seeing it in different TV shows and some movies. So the hobby's out there, people do it, and it's starting to come out to the forefront more and more. And I think the more we drive it forward, the more it's going to be out there, and the more people that are going to find this hobby as rewarding as you and I do. So with that being said, I'm out of here. God bless. Have a great week. Have a blessed week. As always, I don't have sleeves, but you do, so you keep them wet. Thanks for watching. This is Rob with the Freaks Aquariums. Peace.